This episode is not sponsored, but we encourage you to help support the small businesses, charities, and organisations that we mention.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Our Circle. I'm Rhiannon.
And I'm Jess.
And today we are joined by my very special friend, Giorgio Caruso.
Hi guys, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. We're so excited to have you. So today we've invited Giorgio on just to have a chat, really. The topic of discussion today is, do you have a type? Now, before we started recording, Jess and I were actually talking about this, and she said that she felt quite a bit of confusion about this, right? Like the question. What was it that you sort of felt?
When I get asked that question, I don't know whether I'm being asked about looks or personality or like the whole package. I tend to go for looks. If someone asks me what's my type, I tend to think like, oh, you know, tall, dark and handsome, like everyone says. But then I don't know, also, is it based off like your experience, like who you've been with previously? Like, is there a pattern? Is that what they're asking you? I don't really know. And also, what do you think?
But also, do they mean stereotypes as well? You know, like if you said you have a type, so you say like jock or I don't know, like something
like rugby player or something.
Yeah, stuff like that. So, and Giorgio, I know you saying about different types in the gay community as well. You also get typed as well, I feel. And I remember you and our friend James teaching me about like the different names, like bear and things like that.
Oh my god, so many. I don't know most of them as well. There's just so many of them, and it's just such a big question. You're right. It's like, what do people, especially on dating apps, you always get asked, so what's your type? And I'm like, alive, preferably. Even then.
Okay, so this brings me
with a pulse.
With a pulse.
This I guess brings me to my question then. Do you think that you two have a type? Like, I know we just said we're a bit confused, but if you were to be asked that question, then what are your instincts to say? Do you think that you have one? You think you do, Giorgio?
I think, I don't know, it's so hard. I think I do. Like,
okay, what's your
type? As Jess said, like, very interesting to people. If you look at my past, I don't think you'd really say there's much of a like there is a bit of a type, but it's also it's so hard. It's also like people I go out with tend to be not the same type as people I hook up with, so it's like it's such a difficult question. So what do you think, Jess?
I think I've been with people who are like stereotypically, well, I think my first boyfriend was stereotypically good looking. Then my second serious boyfriend, so this is before who I'm with now, he was, what would you say, Ree? It was kind of very like well kept.
Yeah, I would say he, like, if you were to try and compare him to someone like a generic sort of stereotype or something, I feel like he would fit like the sort of posh made in Chelsea looking guy, I guess. I think that would be a fair thing. Like he wasn't very laddie or, you know, so I feel like, but it's funny when we were thinking of this and I was thinking about Jess, all of like anyone that she's ever been interested in, they've never been the same in my opinion. Like they've never had something like, as in
personality or
looks. I don't know about personality because I never really knew them myself, but like I don't think that their personalities were too similar either, if I'm being honest.
No, and then when I got with Joe, he had long hair at the time. Now it's short, but he had long hair. He was like really out there with what he wore. So like crazy pattern shirts.
So it was completely different to any.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was though. Maybe I was so put off by my ex that I was like, right, I'm going for the opposite. Right now.
This was a point I wanted to bring up. Do you feel then that what you've, and this might not be the same for everyone, but do you feel like when you've gone out with someone you go completely off that type of person and move on and then develop a new type? Or do you feel, Giorgio, do you feel like you've dated the same?
Yeah, I feel like I have. Most of the time. It's very hard to explain because like I would say my type on paper, I would say like if someone said what's your type, I'd always say like I like my men like I like my cheese, like a bit mature. Do you know what I mean? Like a little bit older. Like, do you know what I mean? That's always been what I'm personally like the most attracted to. But if you looked at my dating record, like that's not people I've gone out on dates with at all. They've always been like close to my age, and I like guys like to be older. That's like, so if someone said like, what's your type on paper, I'd definitely say like has to be older than me.
Is there a reason that you prefer them to be older?
Oh, I don't know. Daddy issue. No, I'm joking. I have no idea. I think ever since I was young as well, it's been the same thing. Like,
that's interesting.
Even when I was 16, like I would say it's always like the head teacher was always the one I was looking at. Do you know what I mean? Like so very
you say like you had like it's different for hookups and relationships, right? So is the older type for someone to like look after you in like a relationship type, or is it who you want to?
I think it's the opposite. Like I would rather go out with an older guy. Like I like to go out with them, but like I've only ever hooked up with them, and I don't know why. And I think it's because like I'm a big person for one. Like I'm like a bit tall, and I'm got my own gravity. Like I'm quite big. Like
no,
so
he's not. By the way, everyone, he's not at
all. You
definitely
don't look it.
He's not at all. He's beautiful.
It's hidden, but I don't mind. I've always been a bit bigger than everyone else. Like like growing up and stuff. So. Especially when I'm in bed, I like things to be a bit rough. So I've always liked an older guy because they're the ones that are more capable of.
Right. So it's almost like experience
that way. Yeah, definitely. But like, I don't know why, but everyone I've gone out with, I guess it's because you don't get lots of older guys like on dating apps, you know?
Oh, I see. I was going to say,
younger.
Do you think it's also because we're in the UK or in London, so you're not necessarily going to be getting like these massive guys that can wrestle you?
It's very that, like everyone who I've seen on dating apps is always a bit younger and not as mature as I'd like, or like there's always something. I'm very picky, but like not picky at all, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like I will go on a date with absolutely anyone. It doesn't matter about your look, it doesn't matter about your age, and I will go out with you if I think we'll get on. And that's what I mean by picky. Like if their profile doesn't make me laugh or be like, oh, this guy's got something about them, then I won't go for them. Right. And it tends to be the younger guys are really good at like
they know how to roll you in.
Do you know what I mean? It's very that. So I'm not too sure though. That's the thing. It's such a hard question.
Do you know what you were saying though there about how you're quite picky? I feel like I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, but I am picky, and it's mostly because I feel like something that a friend told me a while ago when I've been worried about the fact that I wasn't dating and that I just wasn't attracted to anyone that was out on a night out. And he said to me, he was like, don't be upset or like angry at yourself that you're being picky. It's like the fact that it's like what did he say? It was not self-pride, it was like self-worth, like know your worth. If you, it's like don't ever
settle.
That was it. Don't settle, and don't force yourself just because you don't feel something for someone. And I get quite frustrated when I see online when people are like, oh, don't women, they can't say that they won't go out with someone if they're not tall. But I'm like, well, if that's their preference, don't tell them otherwise. Like it's, and I'm not saying I think that short people are bad or whatever. I'm not attracted to them. To me, I feel attracted to someone who is tall because to me, that makes me feel safe. And I don't mean just for men. I mean for women as well. I'm attracted to women too. I would rather have a woman who's taller than me. Like to me, it's just about safety. So my attraction based, obviously there's like the physical side. And I mean, I'm very like shallow, I guess, when it comes to things like that. But at the same time, I'm choosing to believe that that's me being like, I know my worth sort of shit. But also I'm single. Like don't, like, you can hate on me all you want. I'm at the end of the day, I'm single. So what's the problem here? This is my doing.
Definitely. And there's such a difference between being picky and like being rude. I think when people say picky, they're always like, oh, she's picky. I'm like, but no, it's not that I'm picky when it comes to certain things. It's just about what I want. Like I'm not saying you're not attractive. I'm just saying it's not what I'm looking for, and I'm sure there's people who attract. But I always think it's just, why do people get so? It's the same as food. Like some people like different food and some people don't, and Absolutely. I don't get why people I guess it's an insecurity thing when people say, oh, you're not my type. They're very much like, oh my god, I'm
no one's type, and it's like no, you're just not mine.
I've come to I've been on dating apps and people are like, oh sorry, I'm not interested, and at the start I'm like, ouch, it does hurt, but then I've grown a bit now, and I've realized that actually there's not a type that, you know, some people do have those preferences.
Yeah.
And you can't force them to like something. And if everyone has them, if he's not your type, he's not your type. There's no point getting upset. So there's such a difference between being picky and being rude.
Definitely.
So
I think the thought as well for me that keeps annoying me that I see online when they're like, just give them a try. And I'm like, I don't want to be forced to like something I know I do not like.
Yeah,
like
so true.
Don't force me to try and make this work just to make this guy's ego feel better because he's not my type.
And it doesn't help if you know you don't like it. Like, you know, you just know you don't like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. See, when people said you have a type, I'd be like, accents are up there. If you have an accent,
like any accent.
No, I see, this is the thing, I have like hierarchy with like accents for sure, and like British come very low.
For me, Irish and Australian is like
Irish is quite attractive.
I like Irish, yeah.
It gets me, oh my god, I'm clutching my pearls, like it really gets me going, honestly. And it could be anyone, man or woman. If I hear that Irish accent, I'm immediately like, oh.
Struck some gold there.
Oh, I love an accent. You know, one I don't like, and I'm allowed to say this because I'm Italian, is the Italian one.
I don't understand you,
really?
Because that is just like everything to me at the moment.
I know. I like the look, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
we like our Italian men, but like the accent, I think it's because it reminds me of my dad.
I was about to ask,
right?
Okay, family,
and it's just like, you know, that crosses the line.
yeah, that's uncomfortable.
It's too much.
Okay, so stripping it back down, then, if we are talking about physical looks, what is it then that's your type? So Jess, what do you like in a guy? And obviously we know that you're with Joe, but if you wanted to describe a guy, just what you like, doesn't happen.
So I've always loved Zac Efron, right? That is always, he was on my wall from you know, the age of like 14. And I think as he's grown, like, and as he's matured, like he's got more like muscly and like chiseled. I think physically, obviously, I think it's quite a normal thing to be attracted to, is like a in shape body.
Right.
I'm not talking like bodybuilder, like that is, for me, is a bit more of a kind of turn off, but in shape, someone who looks after themselves and physically fit is definitely something I'm attracted to. Hair color, weirdly enough, like I'm not, well, maybe this isn't weird, but like I'm never attracted to someone with ginger hair.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's I like tanned as well. Tanned, dark features, I think. So like you were saying, Italian guys, like I feel like that's really, I don't know, like a ideal kind of man for me. I think,
Jess, we should like swap families, because like I'm so attracted to ginger hair. For me is my number one.
No way, really?
Oh, absolutely.
So a ginger Irish guy.
Oh, well, then there you go. You just need to go to Ireland, Georgia.
I just flooded my basement. Absolutely, yeah, 100%. That is my ideal.
You need to go to Ireland then, and you'll be set.
For me, red hair is the most attractive, but because I've been attracted to girls before as well. And even on girls, for me, ginger hair is like,
I think it's
number one.
Stunning.
And then the rest are like on the same level.
Yeah.
Number one, for sure.
I can't remember what the percentage is, but there's like a percentage of how many redheads there are in the world. And I was like, how can it be that small? Like, that's insane. So I was like, oh, I get now why they're almost like a fetish. I don't know. You know, like how people are.
Yeah. It's rare. Yeah.
I love it.
I always get asked like if it's real. That's a huge question.
Really?
Is it dyed or is it real? I'm like, no, it's real. Wow. I don't know if is that a turn off if it's dyed? I don't know. Like, it's not real.
Why are you asking me this?
Yeah, it's weird.
I think similar to Jess, I'm definitely attracted to people who are like in shape. I think again, mine stemmed from like, not fears, but like I need to know that someone's looking after themselves, because my fears and stuff are like death and things like that. So I need to know that they're not going to be some sort of massive health problem that I'm like going to be potentially losing them. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean though? It's like
no, like if you invest all your like your heart, like your love and your care for them, you don't want them to go. You don't want it to go away like that.
Exactly.
So it makes sense.
Yeah. So I think for me,
I've never thought about that. That's so interesting.
Well, because otherwise, I don't think honestly I would care that much otherwise. Because it's like, well, I mean, I don't know, that doesn't really matter to me, but in my head presently, or like what I value or what I need for my own like safety and security or whatever, is knowing that they are looking after themselves. Because I think, again, something that would be a turn off for me is having to mother someone. So I like to know that they are capable and looking after themselves. So therefore that generally means that they're well kept, doesn't it? Like, as in they're physically fit or whatever. So I think for me it's like tall, muscular, or like in shape. Again, it's an insecurity of mine, but I prefer if they're bigger than me, like as in muscle. I think because like my previous like relationship when I was a teen, like he was much smaller than I was, so I felt quite like not protected. And not that that's their job, but you know what I mean? Like, to me, a relationship like is about safety for me. Like, I want to feel safe with that person if I'm going to be vulnerable with them and be open and all that sort of stuff. So I guess it's almost like the physical representation of the mental and connection and everything. So that's sort of what I'm attracted to. But what sort of personalities are you guys attracted to? Like, what's your type when it comes to personalities?
I would say, I mean, it's again very stereotypical, but someone who can make me laugh, because I feel like you want to have fun with the person that you're with.
So important.
Yeah.
That's
and I think
one.
I think what I've learned from past relationships is someone that I can trust and who trusts me. I feel like if it's reciprocated, then I feel, like you said, a lot safer.
Yeah.
So that, like, in the past I've had relationships where they just not able to open up, and that's kind of just their own,
that's just how they are.
That's just how they are. You can't really change someone. So yeah, I feel like now with Joe, like, he's very vulnerable with me, and so I feel like I completely trust him, and that's really attractive to me. Yeah, I think that's just from past experience. So yeah, funny, trust. I don't know, Giorgio, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I have nail on the head. Like, for me, funny is the number one thing, and I know it's so cliche, but I genuinely have been in that position where there's two guys. Okay, let's just say, for example, two guys, and one's attractive, one's like 10 out of 10, and one's like not as good looking. I will always go for the one that makes me laugh the most. Do you know what I mean? Like, for me, number one, I don't care what you look like. If you make me laugh, I'm hooked. Like, I love to laugh. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, who doesn't love to laugh? Like, but I also think, like, my humor is also very, like, it's quite dark. Like, I love dark humor. Like, you know, if you're a fan of RuPaul's Drag Race, like, Bianca Del Rio is like my number one. Like, she just insult comic all the way, darkest humor. So someone who can also match that with me a little bit.
Right.
And anyone who does a dark joke, like, I'm in. So yeah, definitely laughter for me. And I would say for me it's quite interesting because looks are important, but if they're funny and they can cook.
Ooh.
Do you know what I mean? Cooking.
Yeah. Skills. I think skills was something that I wanted to talk about as well. I feel like skills definitely come into it because it's, again, something that you find attractive.
Oh my God! If someone can make, because for me, the way to my heart is through my stomach, 100%, like 100%. Like, if you make a good meal and I can just, like, I can orgasm just thinking about food. Like, genuinely, I love it so much. So someone who can cook well for me is so attractive. But I wouldn't say this in the past because I couldn't cook, but now over lockdown and stuff, it's something that I really picked up and I really enjoy. So now I'm like, you know, cooking's important. I'm a cooking snob. Like, cooking's important. Whereas I literally can't cook without my mum. But like, but someone who can cook for me, it would be great because I just have this little image of, you know, like laughing in the kitchen, like mixing.
Yeah.
So cringe, but like,
no, not at all. I think
that's what I think.
No, I think I agree with you all on, like, the comedy, the trust, all of that sort of stuff. I also really find attractive, like, passion, like, as in someone really.
I wrote that down in my notes.
But like passion, I don't care what you're passionate about. Just be like, I love when someone geeks out over something because if you know me, I geek out over anything that I get into. God, and I would like to see that replicated because I think I would find either, again, I suppose it's almost like insecurities, but I'd be like, am I weird for constantly getting excited over stuff, and this person doesn't get excited over anything? Like, I'd like to see that they're passionate or driven about things.
And you're right, it can be anything you want, as long as they're passionate about it. It's so attractive, attractive.
Definitely.
Like, you could be attracted by, like, to soil, and I'll be like,
yeah,
yes, like, cool. You love soil, good for you. Like, yes,
definitely. Yeah, because that's
live
the
your
thing.
soil dreams.
It's I think there's something really attractive about seeing someone excited and driven and just passionate about something, passionate about life. I think it's a real turn on for me. I think it's really, really cool. I think that's important to me, to know that they're passionate about something.
For sure.
What do you guys think about falling in love with the idea of someone and their potential versus who they are? Like, should they be the whole package straight away, or do you think you can grow with them?
I don't think that them being the whole package exists. Like, you have to learn each other. You don't just automatically know someone. So I think that doesn't exist, but I completely get how you can fall in love with the idea of someone.
And then it doesn't work out. And then you're like, okay, I had way too high expectations for this person.
Story of my life. Yeah, 100%.
Really?
100%. Well, I'm a dumb bitch, right? So I believe in love at first sight. I'm one of those people that will, like, honestly, I would say one of the greatest loves of my life was an unreciprocal one. Do you know what I mean?
Hello.
Right, it's so easy to do. And
so easy.
And it's
I believe in lust in first sight.
It's so true. Then you're like, was that just lust? I don't know. Like,
you question yourself.
Lust, love. It's such a hard line. But I think falling in love with the idea of someone's so hard. But as you get older, you just have to realize that not everyone's going to be exactly what you're looking for, and it explains why I'm so single. Because in the past, if I don't feel like a spark, I'm like, no, I'm very much like the Princess Diaries, like, leg, you kiss them, the leg goes back.
Off the leg.
100%. I'm a romantic at heart, so I really believe in love at first sight. But actually, as you get older, you realize, no, that's
I don't think that there's any reason for you to not still believe that. It's just, I think it's how you deal with each time that doesn't happen. Like, it's so I reckon that there's no reason why that couldn't eventually happen for you when it is the right person. But I think, obviously,
that's the thing. I think everyone's the right person. That's the problem.
Oh, right. Yeah, I was going to say it's you. Okay, a bit of realism needs to come in then. I get.
No, I need a reality check. 100%. 100%.
What about you, Jess? What do you feel about that then?
No, I definitely think that you can grow with someone, and like, if you get with someone when you're both quite young, and you can just, like, learn about life as you go along. I think if there are any, like, real red flags, then, like, yeah, fine. Like, if you don't see any like that person like being driven or wanting to improve themselves in any way, or wanting to strive for any goals, then yeah, that's a red flag, and that definitely is not. But I don't think, like you said, I think it's unrealistic to expect someone to have everything in place in their life when you meet them. Like, that's
and no offense, but that's a lot of pressure on you as well. To have your shit together.
Shit together. No chance that's happening anytime soon. I was just going to say, it's really interesting what you said about red flags.
Oh yeah.
Yes. How many do you guys have, like, a timeline? Are you like, okay, if it doesn't hit, if I have, like, X amount of red flags, or if they don't hit these points by, like, a time, am I crazy? Do you guys do that?
No, I don't think you're crazy. It's not something that I'm familiar with because I'm not really on the dating scene, but I think there are red flags that you have inherently in you, if that makes sense. Like, as in, so what certain things are, like, your turn-offs, I guess. And actually, this is what I was going to lead on to. I was going to say, are there certain things that are red flags to you that would come up quite early? So, for example, does religion or politics or your family affect your decisions, or the way that someone is, like, with you? So, is that something that you ever take into consideration, or would those things not matter to you? Like, if someone had a completely different religion or a political stance, like, would that affect your attraction to them, do you think?
Me personally, religion, no. Like, I'm a Catholic. Like, I'm quite a religious person, but I'd say I'm more spiritual than religious. But it's almost what we were saying about passion. Like, if they're passionate about their religion and they're kind, and they're not good people, and even if they have no religion, like, as long as you're a good, kind person, for me, that's not a problem. But it's politics is the one I found that's a bit trickier, because I'm very much like, I hate people who like Trump. that for me, that's it's not even a red flag. I will not talk to you. I'm not interested in having a discussion. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, if you're trying to educate yourself, 100%, I will be on board, and I will date a guy who doesn't have the same politics as me. Not that I think I'm right, but it's fine if he doesn't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
we just won't get on.
Yeah.
But because for me, politics is very much a reflection of your values. Like,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, like, for me, if your politics are different, then it can be a bit tricky, I think.
I'd like to think that I probably could date someone who has I could date someone who's a different religion, as long as they're not expecting that of me. So that's where if they're expecting me to convert to something or whatever, it's like, okay, well,
yeah,
bye.
for sure.
But you know, when it comes to politics, I think exactly like you said, it's usually quite a true reflection of your beliefs. But I'd like to think that they're still kind of, if we have different opinions, I'm sort of this mindset at the moment, like trying to get the all-rounded sort of picture. So like, I want to be able to see other people's sides as well. But there are certain things that are just like you said, like, it's like, no, I can't agree with you on that. And I don't think,
what I mean?
And
I think you can move forward from it.
Yeah.
There's no way, like, if you tell me you support Trump after everything he's done, I'm sorry to any Trump supporters out there that listen to this podcast, but I don't care. I'm not interested at all. If you think, you know, it's about, if you think, you know, if you're one of those people that says all lives matter, I'm out. I'm not interested. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's sad, but most of the time it's like, you can tell what politics someone has just from their views. Like, they make it quite obvious. And you're right, you want to be able to have that discussion. But for me,
that you want, I guess it maybe in my mind, I'm like, maybe you could help them see
100%
the right way, the correct thing. But
that's the thing. I will never blame someone for their belief. You have your beliefs. If you believe Trump's the hero, whatever, fantastic. You're not a part of my life.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for you to be in it. Then it's fine. You have your beliefs. There's no judgment, you know? No judgment at all. But I'm sorry, we're not going to get like a little bit of judgment, but
a lot of it.
100% you're out.
What about family then? If your family, if they have an opinion on the person that you're dating, like, does that affect your decision? Like, what they think of someone that you're dating?
My mum has always been right, so I'm inclined to say yeah.
So true. Mums are always right. It's actually not even a joke. They're always right.
It's mad. They've got this weird like intuition, and they see everything before you do, and it's just like, how did you do that?
I wonder if it will be like that for Mila when she eventually like comes.
I hope so, and I hope she listens to me, because sometimes it can work the other way, can't it? Like, you want to do the opposite, you want to rebel. So
of course.
But yeah, I think it's important for me because I think I've always wanted someone I can like take home to my family and we can spend time together. Like, I'm fairly close to my family, so for me that's important.
What about you, Giorgio?
I mean, for me it's a little bit trickier. Like, my parents are on board with the whole gay thing, but you know, they're not. So I've never really been in that situation, so I don't know, but I think it's definitely important to me, especially if the person I'm with is important to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, if it's someone I want them to like, we're all so close and I love them, so you know, their opinion definitely matters, but it depends on what. Like, if they're like, oh, Georgia, like, you could do better, he's not the best looking, but I would be like, shut up, I don't care about that. That's not up for discussion. But if they're like, yo, I think you might be a serial killer, then I'd be like, oh, okay, probably listen to this. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, as you said, like, they've got a vibe of knowing somehow, and it's definitely important. But I guess that they may not always get on. You know, you read all the stories of in-laws, like,
I don't think you necessarily have to, like,
no, exactly.
It's important to me that they have a relationship where, I'm not saying like, oh, every day we go around for dinner. I mean, like, we can see each other maybe once a week or something, and like have a nice, pleasant conversation. But
it's civil.
Yeah, civil, exactly. But I don't think you have to be best friends with your partner's family. It's not really that realistic. Like, you've chosen to be with your partner, not your partner's family. Exactly. So I don't know. Ree, what do you think?
Yeah, I think family definitely comes into it for me, because I am so close to my family. I'm someone as well who, especially like with my brother, I think most people who know me, my brother's like my best friend, and a while ago, we sort of made an agreement that we weren't going to introduce each other to anyone that we might date or partner with, because unless if we're serious about them, because like I don't want to introduce someone to him who might potentially leave, if that makes sense.
For sure.
So I think for me it is a big deal what my family think, but it's I don't know, I've sort of, to me it's also a big deal what they think of my family. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right.
So like if my family loved them but they didn't feel the same, I'd be like, why? Like what's the problem here? Like, you know, so I don't know, I feel like that would be a little bit tricky as well, because
so if they turn around and said, I don't love your family, I don't see what's so great, is that a red flag for you? You're kind of like, wait, no, my family are amazing.
Well, kind of, because they're everything to me. So, and I'm not saying that they have to be like obsessed with my family, but to not acknowledge them in a positive light, I think I would find quite difficult, because they are my positive light. They are the thing, you know, they're the people that have built me, you know, like, and literally they've raised me. So it's sort of like, and I'm very fortunate to have such a great relationship with my family. So to think that could potentially be messed up somehow because someone else doesn't necessarily, I don't know, fit in.
That would be hard.
I don't know. Yeah, I think it would be quite difficult. And I'm not, like I said,
but also I know your family pretty well, and I can't see anyone ever having an issue with them. Like,
I was gonna say, someone who's raised you like you, I don't think, like, you're amazing as well. So like, how could your family not be? So
no,
I doubt it'll ever come up.
I am very proud of my family, but you know, I just think, yeah, I would need to know that as much as my family opinion matters, I feel like I'm pretty good at not ignoring them, but like I'm gonna do what I want to do, so they'll just, you know, deal. Whereas I need to know that the partner actually likes my family, because if they don't, I feel like I'm like, well, they're my gold, so you want to shit on my gold, go away.
Yeah, and that's so true.
Another sort of point that I sort of wanted to ask is, do you think that you can have more than one type? Because I personally think that you can.
I have about 18 different
types.
Like,
okay, fine. So what do you feel like your types are then? So you've said obviously like the generic things that you feel attractive, like physically or whatever, but do you like, what are the types then that you like?
I love any type. Honestly, it's ridiculous. Like, you know, it ranges from so much, like, you know, from like, as you said, Zac Efron to like Thanos in the MCU. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, those are the kind of things that I like. But I would say one type that I love at the moment, and you know, I've completely changed in the last 5-6 years. I used to be so extroverted. Now I'm more introverted, and my type has changed a bit with that. So like, I love nerdy guys. Like,
oh my god, I love nerds. You know what I mean?
Fantasy. If you play Dungeons and Dragons, your attractiveness goes up.
Really?
For me, yeah, all the way up. Like,
do you know what it is when it comes to like nerds, like, or whatever, like you want to call
exactly.
Like I mean, I'm a nerd, so you know what I mean.
That's what I mean. Yeah, me too.
When they're into games and stuff like that, do you know what again, this is me being
games.
I feel like I'm being a psychologist here or whatever, but like I'm like, that shows that they like problem solving. They're good at problem solving. But they also like having fun, and they like being passionate about something. So it's instantly already ticking off boxes for me.
So true. I love it. So like the you know, like also in films, like the nerdy one that gets like, you know, is always into like Dungeons and Dragons and Star Wars and gaming. Like, I never used to be like that, so I was always like, oh, I don't really care. But now that I'm into it, I'm like, yes, it becomes so attractive to me. Like I like, if he said he worked at NASA, whoa, girl, I am so into space, like space guy, like do you know what I mean? It's just loads of different types. Sorry, Jess, what about you?
Well, yeah, like I said, the kind of physical Zac Efron type is like, I don't feel that's like, I don't know if this sounds sad, but I don't see that as like realistic. Like, he's kind of my celebrity crush, but he's not someone I in real life that I
of course
would come across.
Oh, I see.
I like confidence, so I think that it's weird because Joe's a mix of confident but also quite shy, I think.
Not arrogant. I think that's like,
no, but what attracted to me initially to him was the dress sense. So like he had like this big fur jacket, and I was like, okay, like you're wearing that out, like, whoa, okay, cool.
No
like
way.
you don't care, like, cool, go for it.
Wow, that is a statement. I love that.
Yeah, so things like that, I was like, whoa, okay, like he's somewhat sure of himself, and that's sexy to me. That's confidence. I really like that. So that's something that definitely, that's a type, I guess, or a feature. But yeah, it's just varied from person to person who I've been with. I don't actually see a common factor between them all. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I was just trying, like trial and error, like that didn't work for me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try something else. But that was subconscious, because I definitely wasn't consciously thinking that person wasn't like that person.
Yeah.
So weird.
It happens.
I don't know.
Your types are all subconscious at the end of the day, aren't they? You never, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm never actively thinking like, oh my God, I like this guy. It's more like I see them and I'm like, oh,
you get a feeling.
I get a vibe.
Yeah.
100%.
Definitely.
But nerdy guys for me, sport, and then sporty guys as well. Like if they anything where they have to run around in shorts, that's a tick. Like, you know, like a big tick. But then again, like, but I would say it's like on equal with, if this nerdy guy wasn't into sport, I wouldn't care, because he's into like
right. Yeah. No, because I feel like
I
I'm like, I find that I'm really attracted to like creative people, but then if they're not like creative, then I'm also attracted to people who are like really into nature, like they like hiking, they like surfing, like being with nature and stuff like that, or like rock climbing. That's cool. And again, but that's also, again, ticking off like they're going to be physically active and showing an interest in the planet, which is a mutual thing that I care about, and things like that. So I feel like a lot of these things link for me. But then if you're like talking about the stereotype of names of things like skater guys, surf guys, you know, rock stars, stuff like that, then yeah, they're all my type.
Oh, 100%. If they've got a uniform too, oof. A uniform.
Any type?
Any type. Not interested. It could be any type of uniform. So like especially like a build. I've got the builders in as well that. But that's the thing. I think what's important to think about is I always think I have one, like, you know, on paper this is what I'd go for, but in reality I'm attracted to so many different types of people. And I really am one of those people, and I know it's cringe and people like to say this, but I really do get attracted more to personality. So for me, I'd say personality type is way more important to me than look type.
Right.
And I really do believe that. For me, like I get on, if I get on with you, you could look like anything. I wouldn't care what you do, what you did. As long as you.
Do you think it's because like we're thinking like with the personality thing? Do you think it's because we're thinking longevity? Like we're thinking, okay, looks fade or whatever, and it's actually so much more important when you're with someone that's going to last, their personality, and like looking after you and being kind, and you know, potentially building a family with this person. Like, do you think that far ahead, even if it isn't conscious?
Oh, for sure.
Me personally, actually, now you saying that, because I sort of think that makes a lot of sense. And I think because I'm not looking for someone, right, I'm not really looking for anyone, I don't think about the personality sort of side at the moment, because I'm not thinking about settling down. I'm not thinking about family and stuff. So for me, the idea of just being attracted to someone based on their physical features is literally just for like hookups and fun, I guess. But then if I was to start thinking about others, and obviously I'm not saying, oh, I'm about to go and hook up with someone who supports Trump or something like that, you know what I mean? Like, there are still going to be things that factor into what I'm attracted to. Like personality does come into at some point, you know.
For sure.
But I think, yeah, you're probably really right there, and hit the nail on the head with the idea that if you're actually thinking about the future, you are taking way more other things into consideration than looks, for sure. And I mean, you are anyway with a relationship, but I guess because it's not on my mind, I'm not thinking about those things, but it makes sense.
Yeah, I think I was thinking back to our love languages episode, and I feel like my priorities have changed, and what I'm ticking off has changed now for Joe. Now we've got Mila, because like I said in love languages episode, him doing something around the house, meaning that I don't have to do it, and that we get more time together, like that's attractive to me. And this is going to sound really psycho, but like I love the fact that he goes for runs, like he's into running, and he's like done the London Marathon and stuff, which is great, and I absolutely love that passion, and like we were saying.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish you could skip your run today so that we could spend more time together, or like and that's not because I want him to stop doing something that he loves, but it's just because I want to spend or like for him to spend a bit more time with me before he goes to work, and then maybe I can have a little lie, and like, and he is good at balancing it, but you know, like sometimes I'm like, oh, you're going for a run today, or
can't you just skip it for once? It's so true. But
how long does he go for a run for?
Oh no, they're not like particularly long. They're usually around like half an hour or something. But
an hour of running, a half an hour of running even.
Oh yeah, no. It's not for me. But like you were saying about the sport and stuff, like it's good that he's got something that he's passionate about, and he's actually quite stubborn in some ways, and I guess that's actually quite a good thing when it comes to having like a goal or something. It's like, no, I'm gonna run 10k today or whatever, like that.
I love
that you're more attracted to him as well when he's doing stuff like that, because you know that it's him keeping healthy and to be a good dad as well, like to be a good partner, but also to be a good dad. Like
there's so many more factors come into it now that we've got a baby.
I was going to say, do you find different things to do with fatherhood more attractive now,
I find like not only the physical stuff as well, but I found like with work and things like that, he's become a lot more driven, a bit more like, oh no, I want to take these exams so that I can climb the ranks and stuff like that, because he knows he's got a family to look after. So for me, that's really attractive.
That is so attractive,
because again, it takes off. And don't get me wrong, like this has all been a process, because it's, you know, we weren't together very long before I got pregnant, so it's all been like so much growth in quite a small amount of time, and quite a lot of like very open and frank conversations that we've had to have to get to this point. And we're still obviously growing and everything, but it's attractive to me to know that he wants to better himself in all different ways, and that isn't something I actually even thought of being attractive to me. Like before having Mila, I was still very much thinking about myself, and I was like, even if this person that I'm going to be with isn't making loads of money, like that doesn't matter, because I'm going to be making loads of money like for myself. Like I don't really care about things like that. But now that we've got like a family, and I'm not saying like money is the most important thing, but we need security, we need financial security, we've got a mortgage, we've got a baby, like shit hits the fan. It's like real life. You're like, okay, actually these things are important. So yeah, it's weird how like when your life dynamics change and I've got someone else to think about now, how things actually become more attractive to me.
No, it's so true.
Do you know what I was thinking actually, that you were just saying about how you're having open and honest, like frank conversations? That's actually something that I value quite a lot with people, because I'm someone who takes things quite literally, like a lot of things. So if you tell me, like if I'm like with Georgia, we're always saying we want to go to Italy, but in my head I'm like, that means we're going to Italy, so you can't go out, sort of thing. Like we are going. So it's something that I've always had to learn. Like not everyone when they tell me things, they're being literal. They're not. Like that's me taking that on. So to have someone be really honest with me and frank, even if it sometimes hurts my feelings, I actually really value that, because it means I'm not being lied to, or you know what I mean? I never have to question, like it's just out in the open, and it's there. And I think I really admire that about yours and Joe's relationship, that you do regularly have those difficult, I suppose at time, but open, frank conversations, because then there's no, especially for people like us who overthink everything and feel anxious about stuff, it just nips it in the bud straight away, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's just me learning about myself though as well, because like over the years I know that if I don't say something, it's going to bubble and it's going to come out anyway, so I might as well just say it there and then. Obviously sometimes I have to like kind of stop and kind of check myself and kind of be like, right, how can I frame this so that I'm not actually offending anyone, and we're going to get to the right, you know, we're on the same path. I think that's something that Joe and I always try and remind each other, is that we're on the same team, and like we're trying to get towards the same goal, but we might kind of butt heads at some stage, and we might have different opinions. But yeah, being open and honest is so important. Like to progress in a relationship, like if you're not open and honest, like it's not going to work.
That's, as you said, like that's a type there in itself, like someone who is open and honest, because when it gets down to the tough part, if you have someone who just doesn't open up, it makes everything so much harder. So it's so important,
and then your attraction would then obviously decrease.
100%.
It's difficult. I'm really interested to know what other people think, like what our listeners are currently thinking, like what sort of types do you have? Are you sort of agreeing with us with what we're saying, or are you finding that you have a completely different view? So please let us know. I definitely want to know that. So Giorgio, at the end of every episode, we like to dedicate an episode to either a small business, a charity, or an organization, and as you're our guest today, we have asked if you would provide one for us. Would you like to tell us who we want to support?
Oh, absolutely, yes please. So I'm going to be shouting out to Andy's Man Club. They're basically a mental health charity that's looking to promote men talking about their feelings and all about mental health and getting them to have that conversation, because male suicide rate is so high. So we're trying to get, break down the stereotypes that men can't talk, and it's really lovely. It started off basically just these men meeting in a room, having a tea and coffee. You don't have to talk if you don't want to. You literally just have a chat, and it's grown so much. And during the pandemic, they made these little face masks that say, "Don't mask your feelings," and this is their little logo. So if you want to check them out and support them, they do some great work, and it's close to my heart, so I would really recommend it.
So how can people support them? Are they on?
They're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I think. Not having social media anymore means that I don't know what's going on in the world, but I think they're on Facebook, and their own website as well. So you can
perfect. So we're going to put all of the links in the description, so you can go and find that on all of our streaming platforms. You'll be able to find that. That's all right. And it's also going to be up on the screen now, so you can go and follow those. Giorgio, we just want to end this lovely chat with you by asking you, what makes up your circle?
Well, I definitely think obviously you're going to say it all the time, friends and family make up my circle, but definitely because I want to be surrounded by people who have that same energy. Do you know what I mean? The positive energies, people who aren't mean, and people who like the same things I do, the same values. So, and my friends and family are great for that, so I definitely say them. And also I would say actually the Reddit environment's so good. So although they're not officially part of my circle like that, but it's hard for me to get into the LGBTQ plus culture sometimes, being where I am. And I kind of communicate with a lot of people on Reddit, and it's just a huge community, and I love it so much. So it's really helped me. So I definitely say they're part of my circle. To mainly RuPaul's Drag Race fans, but
yes,
very important to me.
So much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, we definitely.
It's been amazing, and I'm so sorry to everyone for my potty mouth.
Don't be.
No, I think we all saw it's fine.
So thank
you so much, guys.
Please make sure to like and subscribe. Go and check us out on all of our streaming platforms, which is YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And we will see you for our next episode. Bye.
Bye.